sound that did his job. It's just when I realized there wasn't gonna be no meat on the table, I just acted foolish for a minute.
Maybe it's something we can transplant.
You know what she'll say.
I'm sure there's a point to all of this, Sarah Louise Hunter. Is this right?
I should have understood the depth of those young people's bitterness towards me.
Well, Judy, that means that I'm gonna have to be stronger and meaner to wear him down.
A sharecropper stole a ham to feed his starving family. That story earned him an Oscar nomination.
But the real story, the one Hollywood tried to bury, was far more dangerous than any role he ever played.
Where are the Genesis materials?
He couldn't find them. Even the data banks were empty.
Born on May 22, 1939, in Dallas, Texas, Paul Edward Winfield arrived in a world that wasn't ready for him.
Not just because he was black in pre-civil rights America, but because he would eventually become something Hollywood feared even more. A black man who refused to hide, pretended just enough to survive, and still managed to steal every scene he touched. His family moved to the Watts district of Los Angeles when Paul was young, trading the dusty heat of Texas for California's promise of something better. At Manual Arts High School, he wasn't just another student. He was collecting performance awards like other kids collected baseball cards. His talent was so undeniable that as a senior, he landed his first professional acting job.
Black actors in Hollywood it's a very small community. Everyone sort of knows, everyone else knows their work. It's sort of like a repertory company.
Universities noticed. The University of Portland offered him a 2-year scholarship, and suddenly this kid from Watts was bouncing between Stanford, UCLA, and Los Angeles City College on various scholarships. Here's where it gets interesting. Paul was gifted at playing violin and cello, so talented that Yale University offered him a full scholarship. Yale, the Ivy League institution that opens every door in America. He turned it down. Why? Because acting wasn't just a career choice for Paul Winfield. It was oxygen.
Might have been nice if you'd written something about the Bible. Something about your own people, your God.
He left UCLA just 6 credits short of his bachelor's degree in 1964. That same year, actor and director Burgess Meredith saw something in him that would change everything. Meredith cast him in Leroy Jones's controversial one-act play, The Dutchman and the Toilet, a raw, confrontational piece about race in America that made white audiences squirm in their seats. 4 years later, Meredith cast him again in The Latent Heterosexual, alongside Zero Mostel. Paul was building a reputation as the kind of actor who could handle complexity, who could make you feel things you didn't want to feel. Columbia Pictures came calling in 1966 with the contract, and suddenly Paul was juggling television appearances with serious stage work. He joined the Stanford Repertoire Theater, diving into both classical and contemporary plays. But something else was happening behind the curtain, something that would define his entire career in ways the public wouldn't understand for decades. Paul was gay, openly gay in his private life, carefully discreet in public. And in 1960s Hollywood, that wasn't just career it was actual danger. By 1969, he joined the Inner City Cultural Center Theater in Los Angeles, teaching drama to high school students for 2 years while guest starring in over 40 television series. He played a boyfriend on the first season of Julia, the landmark black sitcom starring Diane Carroll.
Does one have to make an appointment to get sick these days, my good woman?
I am not your good woman.
Small roles in Sidney Poitier's The Lost Man in 1969, RPM in 1970.
Oh, come on. There are a lot of old half-steppers on this faculty that should have been out of business 20 years ago.
And Brother John in 1971 were building blocks. But Paul wasn't interested in being a building block. Then came 1972. The year everything changed started with a script called Sounder, the story of Nathan Lee Morgan, a sharecropper in Depression-era Louisiana, who steals a ham to feed his starving family and gets thrown in a labor camp for it. It wasn't just a role. It was a mirror held up to America's ugliest truths. And Paul didn't just play Nathan Lee Morgan, he became him. Opposite Cicely Tyson, who would become far more important to his life than anyone watching that film could have ever imagined, Paul delivered a performance so powerful, so heart-shatteringly real, that the Academy couldn't ignore it. He got an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, only the third Black actor to receive that honor, following Sidney Poitier and James Earl Jones.
That was the first time that 3 African Americans had been nominated for an Oscar.
The movie industry noticed, television noticed. Suddenly, Paul Winfield was being offered roles as historical giants: Thurgood Marshall, Don King, baseball legend Roy Campanella. In 1978, he was Emmy nominated for portraying Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in King, with Cicely Tyson playing Coretta Scott King.
Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing the words of that old Negro spiritual.
Two friends pretending on screen to be the civil rights movement's most iconic couple. What audiences didn't know, they were also pretending off screen, and the reason why would haunt them both. Here's where the story gets darker. Paul had been in a committed relationship with Charles Gillen Jr., a talented set designer and architect. For years, they kept it private, careful, hidden. But in Hollywood, secrets are currency, and someone always wants to get paid. A publicist, scorned, angry, looking to cause damage, exposed Paul's relationship with Charles. Just like that, the carefully constructed facade crumbled, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Paul was being seriously considered for the role of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a role that would cement his legacy as one of the greatest actors of his generation. But a gay, Black man playing Dr. King? In the 1970s, Hollywood panicked. Paul's career hung by a thread. That's when Cicely Tyson stepped in, his friend, his co-star, his sister in the struggle. Together, they hatched a plan that sounded like something from a movie. They would pretend to be a couple. Paul moved in with Cicely, and for more than a decade, they maintained the illusion. Public appearances together, whispered romance rumors, anything to protect what they both worked so hard to build.
We never had a problem. The moment we started working, it was a match that was definitely supposed to be.
Paul got the King role. The Emmy nomination followed. But the price? Living a lie in the very home that should have been his sanctuary. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Paul Winfield continued collecting prestigious projects like they were going out of style. Backstairs at the White House in 1979.
Yes, I was. Wouldn't that be nice? You two just playing at the seashore all day and your mama not having a blessed thing to do.
Roots, The Next Generations, that same year. Another Emmy nomination, The Sophisticated Gents in 1981.
And the guys asked me to give the tribute speech, since I used to be president of the Sophisticated Gents.
The Blue and the Gray in 1982.
Sister, Sister in 1982.
I was hoping I'd see you tonight.
You knew I was here.
God, this is my town. I know everything that goes on.
James Baldwin's Go Tell It on the Mountain in 1985.
Might have been nice if you'd written something about the Bible. Something about your own people. God.
Under Siege in 1986.
Mr. President, if we move too quickly, we may do something we will all regret. Remember, we retaliate, they escalate.
And The Woman of Brewster Place in 1989.
I know folks say that I put too much dough in you, keeping you too close to home.
On the big screen, he brought intensity to Conrack in 1974.
I mix it with that copper tubing. That way your ass don't get blinded drinking this stuff.
Huckleberry Finn that same year. A Hero Ain't Nothing But a Sandwich in 1977.
I'm so glad trouble don't always last. Oh, my Lord, oh, my Lord.
Once again with Cicely Tyson. Damnation Alley in 1977.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Well, I don't know about crazy, but sure was selfish.
And gave Trekkies everywhere chills as Captain Terrell in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan in 1982.
Not quite domesticated.
That same year, he tackled the controversial White Dog, a film about a dog trained to attack Black people, a role that let him confront racism head on.
Take 5 weeks vacation, Joe. If I don't break him, I'll shoot him.
But here's the tragedy Hollywood won't admit. Despite all his talent, despite Oscar nominations and Emmy recognition, Paul Winfield never achieved Sidney Poitier-level stardom. the roles started getting smaller. The opportunities were fewer. Because in Hollywood's math, a black actor, even a brilliant one, had a ceiling. And the black gay actor, the ceiling was even lower. Paul refused to be broken by it. He was fiercely selective about his roles, turning down anything that perpetuated stereotypes. He boycotted projects that exploited black pain for white entertainment. He used his platform to challenge racism in the industry and the country, even when it cost him work. On stage, he reminded everyone what a masterclass looked like. Richard III at New York's Lincoln Center Theater, Othello, The Merry Wives of Windsor, The Seagull, A Few Good Men, Happy Endings, and Checkmates. His sole Broadway credit that proved he belonged among theater's elite. He served as artist-in-residence at the University of Hawaii and later at the University of California at Santa Barbara, teaching the next generation what it meant to act with integrity. After 2 Emmy nominations, Paul finally won the award in the 1990s for a guest performance as Judge Harold Nance on Picket Fences. The validation was sweet, but it came with the bitter knowledge that he was now being relegated to character roles, the supporting player instead of the star. Still, he worked. Breathing lessons in 1994.
Might have been a sign, too.
Sign?
Might have been the Lord trying to warn me.
A surprise cross-dressing cameo as Aunt Matilda in Relax, It's Just Sex in 1998 that showed his sense of humor about the absurdity of hiding who you are. Catfish and Black Bean Sauce in 1999. For years, he narrated A&E's City Confidential, his elegant voice guiding viewers through tales of crime and consequence. In 2003, he appeared as a teacher in a television adaptation of Sounder, coming full circle to the role that made him a star 31 years earlier.
Must have slammed that in an awfully heavy gate. That needs warm, soapy water if you don't want an infection.
He had a recurring role as Sam on Touched by an Angel.
God turns everything around all the time, so something's good got to come out of this.
Bringing warmth to a shell about divine intervention. The irony wasn't lost on him. Through it all, Charles was there. 30 years together, 3 decades of love hidden in plain sight. But in March 2002, Charles Gillian Jr. died from a rare bone disease, and something in Paul broke. Friends like actor-producer Jack Larson, Jimmy Olsen from Adventures of Superman, later said Paul was distraught in his final years, never quite recovering from the loss of his partner. Paul never married, never had children. His family was Charles, his sister Patricia, and the chosen family of actors and artists who understood what it meant to live authentically in a world that demanded you pretend. By his final years, Paul was battling obesity and diabetes, his body wearing down from decades of stress, hiding, and fighting battles most people never saw. On March 7, 2004, at age 64, Paul Winfield died from a heart attack at his home in Los Angeles. They buried him next to Charles at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills, together in death as they'd been forced to hide in life. No more pretending, no more facades. Just 2 men who loved each other, finally at peace. Paul's estate at the time of his death was modest compared to Hollywood's biggest stars, though exact figures weren't widely publicized. His net worth was estimated around $1 million. Respectable, but nowhere near what an actor of his caliber should have accumulated. But Paul had never chased money. He chased truth, dignity, and roles that mattered. The honors piled up even after death. The Black Filmmakers Hall of Fame had inducted him back in 1979. Cord and the Black Publishers of America recognized him. The National Association of Media Women celebrated him. The California Federation of Black Leadership and Black Child Development Institution of Washington, D.C. added their tributes. But the greatest honor? The generations of actors who came after him, Black, gay, or both, who could live a little more freely because Paul Winfield refused to disappear. His mother, Lois Beatrice Edwards, had been a union organizer in the garment industry, a fighter. His stepfather, Clarence Winfield, was a construction worker, a builder. Paul inherited both traits. He fought for better representation and built a body of work that still stands as a testament to what art can be when it refuses to compromise. Paul Winfield didn't march in gay pride parades. He didn't give speeches about LGBTQ rights. His activism was quieter, more dangerous in some ways. He simply existed as a gay black man in an industry that wanted him to be neither, and he did it with such grace and power that they couldn't look away. Looking back, the real tragedy isn't that Paul Winfield never became a household name like Sidney Poitier. It's that he had to choose between his career and his truth. That he and Cicely Tyson had to stage a decade-long performance just so he could play Dr. King. That Charles Gillen Jr. spent 30 years as Hollywood's best-kept secret instead of standing proudly beside the man he loved. But maybe the victory is this. Despite everything Hollywood threw at him, the racism, the homophobia, the shrinking opportunities, Paul Winfield never played small. Every role, no matter the size, got the full force of his talent. Every performance was a refusal to be anything less than extraordinary. He stole a ham to feed his family on screen. In real life, he stole something far more valuable, dignity. And unlike that sharecropper and sounder, nobody could ever take it away from him.